I now turn to edh-Dhra, site of a complex, layered process of mourning. The settlement is a vast cemetery bordering Jordan's Dead Sea, and it was notably the contested, surely, site of Sodom, site of a terrible vengeance wreaked by the Hebrew God upon the hapless inhabitants. Pitch rained from the sky and is memorialized still in the clumps of asphalt on the desert floor. Our scenario picks up somewhat prior to the deposition of hand-modeled figurines aside the skeletal remains of secondary burials, where the manufacturer is none other than the individual community member at gravesite. If you find these little guys appealing and possessed of a singular visual energy, it's because they are the result of a dynamic process of manufacture. They're made, then unmade, and ultimately remade again before deposition. Transformation is the very meaning of the cultural transaction at the burial grounds at edh-Dhra. It happens on several layers simultaneously. Grieving is marked by physical engagement with the material world, as the mourner reworks a simulacrum of self and other, mourner and mourned, in the malleable clay. So is the rent in his or her emotional world repaired, and a kind of directionality is instantiated, inviting those at gravesite to turn their attention to a cultural reality in transition, a dawning consciousness of a new way of living together as a collective. The ritual, if we must term it such, that can be read in the material leavings in the burial chambers at edh-Dhra is itself a complex interweaving that is yet to be disentangled. The Penelope Velk, making and unmaking of the skeletal remains, is reflected in the making, unmaking, and remaking of the anthropomorphic figurine. This echo act of destruction and creation is the penultimate moment in an act and a ritual of deposition. While this latter supposition can only be verified by radioxerography and the tracings left in the interior fabric of the figurine, it mirrors perfectly the repetitive and accustomed gestures of secondary burial. The mourned is unmade, remade, and made again in miniature. So too, the mourner is remade, and the rent in society repaired with the deposition of the anthropomorphic image in the burial chamber. We're saying that there is a positive value in destructiveness. Analyst and analysand participate in a shared surrogate reality. For archaeologist and pilgrim, the visible signs of this destruction are carried on the skin of the cemetery itself. An overlay of latter-day looting breaches the ancient landscape, provides multiple points of issuance, where what's been hidden is brought to light. The pockmarked rills afford, in effect, a concrete surrogate, yet a fourth type of surrogate presence for the hidden life of the dead.